Welcome, everyone, to the latest episode of The Testing Room, where three of the gaming industry's best video game consultants who have never actually consulted on a video game bring you new topics each and every week. As always, I'm Alex, and I'm comfy this morning.
You look comfy, all snuggy.
I am all snuggy. Got a cat on my lap, got coffee in my hand.
There you go.
You know it, yeah.
I'm Preston, a.k.a. Funkadelic Jedi. Feeling very clean. Just got out of the shower.
Nice. And I am Travis, a.k.a. Judgment 02. I need to get a better handle. I'm kind of over that one.
Judgment 02? I thought you were Judgment 03.
You could just say Judgment.
It's different. It's either 02 or 03. It depends on what console. I can't remember, but you know.
Okay, all right. And Travis is here with us, hanging out, filling in for Christian. Christian has had a busy adult week working.
He said, fuck this, I'm out, no more podcasts. I don't even want to finish Space Marine 1. He's done. He's
out.
He
can't do anything. So Travis is filling in with us this week, but Christian will be back next week. So this week we're going to tackle, instead of doing our video game book club, obviously we can't finish that because that is Christian's game. Mm-hmm. This week we are doing a bit of a side quest, as we call it, with Travis, where we're just going to have random topic to talk about. Before we do that, let's talk about the weeks. How have things been going? What's been going on, everybody?
Before we talk about the weeks, we probably should stop by Preston's Comment Corner.
Man, okay. I gotta screw something. I'm too comfy. That's the problem. I'll actually really before we get into the comment corner, I blame it on everything I've had going on. So we haven't recorded since a week or so ago. Yeah. It's been about a week and a half since we recorded. We're on the back end, right? So I don't know. We lost Ellie last week. And I don't recall if we were recording when. I think we recorded before that happened.
Yes.
Yeah. So, we unexpectedly lost our cat of 13 years. It was the first animal that Allie and I had together. We bought together because we had Buddy. She had Buddy when I met her. So that was very stressful. That happened on Friday night. Completely unexpected. We went into the vet for an injury, or what we thought was an injury, and it came back very much not an injury.
Jesus.
So that's, completely unexpected. And then Sunday, our dog, who had a cracked tooth, decided to chew on a hard bone he shouldn't have and just broke his tooth completely. And I took him to the vet, and they're like, hey, we don't do dental here, so, just go home, save your money for an emergency visit, and then call your vet tomorrow. Which is all fine, but, I had to go out of town at 4 a.m., because I too had adult week working this week in Chicago, so I was gone for 4 a.m. and worked till 8 p.m. that evening, which is technically 9 because I had to go back in time zone, so 4 a.m. to 9 p.m. Then the next day I worked from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. and the next day I worked 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. and then I finally had a short day on Thursday. But while all this is going on, mind you, I'm dealing with the vet, so Allie has to take Bash and get his teeth pulled, and we think they're going to pull it one day, but they turned out they just wanted to look at it one day, and they sent her back home, and he had to come back another day. With all of that going on, our other dog gets super sick. Vomits everywhere, diarrhea everywhere. No, I hadn't told anybody about this one either. Vomiting and diarrhea everywhere. Sleeps all day, won't get up, won't eat, won't drink, poos, and it's nothing but mucus and little black stuff, and we can't figure out where, none of this is healthy and good. Come to find out, we see little bits of stuff in our yard. She apparently had found somewhere some material from where they fixed our roof 2 weekends ago.
Cool.
Where we had a brand new roof put on, and they found some black material. So I don't know if it was the tarp underneath or whatever's underneath, or if it was literal shingle. But she ate it, and we thought she was also going to die because she poisoned herself essentially. Yeah. Another little quick visit to the vet. Luckily, we are in a peaceful household. Everybody's poos are normal. Everybody is eating. The teeth are pulled. The swelling's gone
poos
down.
Are normal.
It has not been a good week.
Dude, I don't know what's been about this past week or two. I've had another friend who lost a dog. I had my neighbor. She said 2 of her cats died. She thinks that she's not completely on the level, but she thinks that someone threw poison up on her porch because she lets them go on the front porch. So she lost 2 cats. And then on the other podcast I was listening to, his dog of 3 or 4 years old, I think, just randomly died from being at a doggy daycare, which he is investigating. Yeah. So it's this whole past week and a half has just been all my friends and people I know are just having not the greatest time with their pets. I'm looking at Teddy and don't you fucking do anything.
So Allie was like, we were doing something, and she was like, trying to make light of the whole weekend just because she's had a really hard time with Ellie. Yeah. Like, they were pals.
You're laughing, you're going to cry.
She's like, bad things come in threes. Like, oh, Poppy got sick, and we lost Ellie. What's the third thing that's going to happen? So then when Bash goes to the vet, they're like, hey, we're going to pull that one tooth, but I want to let you know, like, he has a tooth on the opposite side that's also cracked. We could leave it. Yeah. They're like, we could leave it, but, like, you're just going to be back later when he breaks that one. So he had 2 pulled, which doubled the price of the vet visit. Yeah. And I was just like, I called Ellie, I was like, I blame you for this, just so you know. Mm-hmm. Like you said, one more, what's the worst going to happen? You did this. So anyway, Christian had a big adulting week. I had a stressful week, and work, which means my week, once we get past your comment corner, isn't super long. I had some fun, but I didn't play too much because I needed a warm bath of like, I needed a hug. Yeah. So I'll talk about that when we get there. But yeah, let's go to your corner because it's been time.
Not a big comic corner. We did get our good friend Jake writing in. He listened into the podcast the other week and did find a Star Wars game suggestion for me for after KOTOR 1 as like the refresher. He did suggest a Bounty Hunter, so I will be playing the remastered version. I already bought that, and I will be going through that after we finish up KOTOR. I'll talk about that within my weeks and where I'm at in that one. And then he adds a little bit at the end. Preston can play Sabacc in the shitty Star Wars game, but can't play Gwent during Witcher 3. Shake my head.
True. Gwent is one of the greatest games in a video game ever done. Yeah,
I have heard this. I did play a little bit when I played The Witcher 3, but it was just a lot to go through. I'm like, dude, I wasn't about it.
It's also more insulting because you fell in love with a card game. Like, you fell in love with Snap, which I get it. Like, it's slightly different, but it's really not that different, right? You have different, not lanes, but levels of
complexity of Gwent is probably what threw me off a little bit, and the fact that like it's Kessel Sabacc. It's very, very simple. It's like trying to get the lowest number, trying to get pairs kind of thing. It's nothing. There's 6 numbers in the cards and like 2 other side, like wild card and the Sabacc card. There's not as much to it, so it's very easy to get into. I can cheat with Nyx. He can go and look behind him. I tried using the photo mode to see how I can look at cards. Yeah. It's very blurry. You can't see it very well. You got to know like the symbols very well to like be able to do that.
They probably patched it.
And so much easier just to tell Nyx to go look at all the cards and just press that little QTE timer at the proper time, which is not hard to do. And you can see all the cards. Yeah. They just show you to you. They even put them up in the top until they have the next turn. So it's a lot easier to do it that way. But I don't know. I like Kessel Sabacc. It's very simple, kind of like Pazak is as well. It's just very simple card games. Give me a couple numbers, don't go over 10, we're fine. But then you got Gwent, which is like, we have all these different type of units and all this other stuff. And I'm like, that's a lot. That's a lot, guys.
No, it's not. It's you, dude. You got so deep into Snap, you can't be like in good faith. Oh, that's too much for me to learn because like you played way more of Snap, but like you're looking up strategy, you're building decks. I mean, Gwent's the same thing, but it's pretty straightforward.
Maybe I just like superheroes more than I like fantasy worlds, like Witcher.
Maybe
that's the thing. That's the thing. But I will definitely be starting up Bounty Hunter as soon as we finish up KOTOR, which I'm assuming within the next month.
Yeah,
it should be done. We'll see.
Thank you for that comment, Jake.
Yeah.
Hard facts. I appreciate it.
But yeah, if you want to, we can just get into weeks. Alex, did you want to go ahead and?
Yeah, I can go. I can go first. Because I had a hard time concentrating this week, I dabbled in some things. I will say this morning was the first day I got back to some old games, and I played a little bit of Black Myth Wukong. I beat the final boss of Chapter 5, which had been giving me trouble last week before I took a break, right? I finally beat him today after like 6 or 7 tries. I got into the 6th and final chapter, and immediately just hit a wall with the first boss I encountered. Okay. And I'm like, what the hell? And they're like, hey man, sorry, this is one of the toughest fights in the game. And I'm just like, thanks. But I'm back into Wukong, so I'll be playing that now.
Do you have to like just get like more abilities or level up to beat it, or is it just strategy and figure it out?
Just get good.
I'll get good. Okay, fair enough.
That's all it is. Like this one has very unpredictable attack patterns, and it's literally like you just got to learn them.
It's got to know
and get good, and that's all. Yeah, that's all there is.
Yeah.
I might be able to get a couple of extra abilities because there are people I've left in previous chapters. I need to go backward and finish off anyway, right? Because I was trying to 100% complete every chapter, but I left 1 in 4 and I left 2 in 5. And really, I left 1 in 5 because like I didn't have the item I needed, and I have to go find that. But I could go back, but I don't think that's going to help. I think I just need to get good.
Okay.
Beyond that, I've played a couple of random things. I've played Retro Football Plus on Apple Arcade.
Okay.
So, like, if anybody ever played Tecmo Super Bowl back in the day, this person made essentially Tecmo Super Bowl for like iOS and Android and stuff like that years ago, and I used to love it. And he also made Retro Soccer, which I also love. But he essentially, I say he, I assume it's a he that developed. I apologize if it's not. That's on me. I shouldn't make assumptions. They were given a ton of money by Apple and said, "Can we put you in arcade?" And when they did it, they actually got official NFL licensing. So, like, Retro Super Bowl 2025 just dropped, and it has, like, real teams. So the Green Bay Packers has real players. It's all, like, officially licensed, which it wasn't before. So that's fun, because games are, like, 4 minutes at a time. And you only, like Tecmo Super Bowl, if you're playing one player, you, like, play your side of offense, and then it simulates the defense. It just tells you, like, what happened. And then you go back to offense. So that's been fun. Casual, I can play it on the couch and when I'm not paying attention to anything else. But the big game that I played, and this was on Saturday after we had lost Ellie. Allie was sleeping. I was like, I want to go play something, whatever. So I pulled up a game that I've always had installed on my PC, which is Final Fantasy X.
I was going to ask you, I'm like, is he gonna go past this? Because I saw him playing it. I'm like, did you do in 10-2, getting those trophies that you wanted?
No, I didn't get to 10-2 yet. I didn't get to 10-2 yet. Because I'll tell you why. Because the platinum and all that stuff actually happened on PlayStation, so I'd have to replay 10-2 to get back to try and do that tower, and I don't feel like doing it. But I did 10. But what I did do for the first time is I modded it. I've never modded a game before. I know you had your first experience with modding this year, right? So I've downloaded all 4K mods for all characters and all environments, even like the chests and everything. Dude, I walked into a tent, mind you. I don't know how many times I've played this game.
You know
10.
what it's like, yeah.
Easily, right? I walked into a tent, and I saw 2 cats on a bed, and Allie was behind me. I go, I had no idea those were cats. I didn't even know there were cats in this place. I've never seen these cats before, right? And, like, so I've up-resed everything. I didn't do any... I guess I did and I didn't. I did one cheat that came in this, which is unlimited money and 99 items of everything, which is fine
to keep from the basic like rigmarole of having to go get all that kind of shit.
Yeah, but they're actually like, don't cheat on weapons or items, because your celestial weapons that require specific items to get, if you use a cheat log to get those early, you will break the game.
Oh, sure.
Like, the game knows, like, you're not supposed to have them without getting to these certain areas, so they'll break it. So, like, don't do that. So I haven't been, like, quote-unquote cheating, per se. But yeah, it looks good, and it is like that warm bath, right? A nice little like video game hug to where like I know it looks better than I ever have.
And the mods just give you like a different like look on it too, because like it's been so nice with like KOTOR being able to like see like those 3D skyscapes and see those 3D not 3D HD AI generated cutscenes. So it just takes the cutscenes they have there and just makes it look crisper and look nicer.
I added those too, and it really does, like we've talked about before. When you play an old game and years later, like, you have this headcanon. You remember how it looks in your head. Well, now it looks how it looked in my head. I even installed this one mod in the Comlands, which is supposed to be just like this wide open field. In the PlayStation 2, it's just like sky off the edge of the Comlands, almost like you're on a cliff. But somebody replaced it with like an HD vista of like the Grand Canyon and the desert and other stuff. So it actually looks like it just goes on forever, like it should. It's amazing.
It's awesome.
But that's all that but that's all that I've done. I went to play Halo this morning because, again, like, I wanted something to play that was just kind of like easy and mindless. And I turned it on. They're like, "Hey, you don't subscribe to the service anymore." And I go, "You are right, Xbox.
Yep.
I do not."
Yep.
So while I'm sitting here, I actually need to right click and uninstall it because I forgot. I don't pay to play that anymore.
Yeah. It's weird. I'll talk about it my week, but I did re-up for Game Pass, and I had to go to the top tier for it because they don't give you all the games for free on the base pass Game Pass anymore. You have to pay the $20 Ultimate.
We didn't talk about this when it happened, but a month or two ago, they came out with like a new base.
I found out about that.
I don't know what it entails, but anyway, that is my week. So Final Fantasy X is the big one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Travis, do you want to go ahead since you're going to be bringing the topic to us? I don't want you to have to go all the way through.
Yeah, that's fine. So for me, it's honestly, I've been playing Elden Ring. I know I'm late to that game, but I've been playing it quite a bit. I think I got about 30 to 40 hours in it. And then
that means nothing because you can beat that game in 5.
I know.
How many story bosses have you done, or do you have left? You know,
I think I've only actually the main story bosses. I think I've only done 8 of them, so I still got 8 more to go. I think.
So you're 50%. Yeah, there's only like 16. That's
I've been so much exploring, is what I've been doing. So I've been playing that, but also I recently got Astrobots, the new Astrobots game for PlayStation.
Been hearing incredible things about that.
As much as my buddy that I do my podcast with, Justin, he actually bought it. We game share because I probably wouldn't have paid for it honestly, but it's 3D platformers. It's probably set a new standard. I feel like it's pretty impressive.
You said game share is on Steam already?
No, it's PlayStation has a game share too.
Oh, I forgot about that. Okay.
Yeah, so we game shared on PlayStation. But it's been really good. It's been really fun. I've mostly played it on my PlayStation, but I've also done remote play on my handheld as well, and that's been decent. But I realized that there's certain ones you get to where you have to use like the 3D accelerometer and stuff in your controller, and I'm like, oh wait, I guess I got to go back to the PlayStation for this. But 'cause I don't feel like taking the time to figure out how to do that. I can get it to work, but I just rather not. And then I played a little bit of, since I haven't been on here, I might as well tell you everything I've been playing. I also played Star Wars Outlaws. I've played a little bit of it.
Yes.
Yeah, I've probably played maybe 4 hours, so not nearly as much as you probably. But
no.
But it's been okay. I need to go back and revisit it. I got a little frustrated by the stealth missions and just some of the mechanics, but my friend Justin tells me I just need to push through because once I start getting upgrades and stuff, like the game gets better essentially.
The stealth mission that frustrated you, was that the one in the Pike, that first Pike area to where you have to go through and it's just a little more difficult?
It is, but I think the thing that also annoys me is they make it abundantly clear that you have a stun option on your gun, but they do not let you use it while you're doing those 4 stealth missions. So it didn't really make sense to me.
They do. I don't know if like maybe they just locked it out of that first stealth mission, that big main one in the Pike area. Because that's a known, like they just patched that entire like scenario, that first Pike stealth mission. Because people were just getting frustrated on what was going, the path thing, everything. Yeah, they focused on that one mainly because people are having so many issues with it. It sucks. And the checkpoint was
just
horrible.
Balanced everything is for the stealth stuff.
Yeah, so I'll probably go back and revisit that because I hadn't revisited. I mean, I got through that mission obviously, and then I chose to do. Is it the Red Crimson or
Crimson
who is
Dawn.
There's 2. Yeah, the Crimson Dawn. That's who I kind of sided with towards the beginning, but. I mean, for the most part, it was pretty fun, but I do want to go back and revisit it at some point because my co-host Justin, he said that so far for him, and it's actually the polar opposite of what you said, Preston, but he said it's his favorite game he's played so far this year. So
that's an opinion,
and I'm like, I'm
not going to tell him he's wrong, opinion. But you know, So I'll be out. Yeah, and then outside of that,
I want to play it solely because of the ultra wide. So I will play it. I will probably play it this year.
Yeah,
I want to see it.
Drop the Ubisoft subscription for like a month. You'll be fine because you're gonna want to do that probably too when Shadows or whatever it's called, Assassin's Creed comes out. So.
And then and then they did just patch because I was holding off on Warhammer on PC because it did not support ultra wide, and evidently they just patched it for ultra wide.
Okay.
Oh, hold on. Sorry, let me just throw in this one thing because you just said this and I forgot. I also dabbled. I'm about 2 hours in to Rogue Trader.
Oh,
I know. I want to say that for Christian. We can talk about it more when Christian's back. I'm a little bit into Rogue Trader, mostly because I didn't take my Steam Deck for work, and it works on Mac, so I just took my Mac with me.
Okay.
Yeah. Outside of games, I'm all caught up except on the 5th episode. I haven't watched the latest episode of Rings of Power.
It's good.
Me either. No spoilers.
Oh yeah, no, I mean this season's been good so far. I think the fourth episode is probably my favorite of the season so far.
I've heard that a lot of people really enjoy what happened in that episode.
Yeah, yeah.
Are you caught up, Preston?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's been really good. I'm trying to think if there's been anything else that I've been watching Bob's Burgers. I was very late to the Bob's
Okay.
Burgers game.
Yeah, you have.
I've been watching a lot of that. It's honestly, I did not expect that show to be so wholesome. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, the situations they find themselves are ridiculous, but there's typically always some sort of message in the end. You know what I mean?
So-
And
It's with that
Yeah.
there was some controversy with the writer and Fox in the beginning because the family just like absolutely loves each other, right? And like they make it very apparent they love each other. And the studio was like, "Hey, you need like they like each other too much. You need to pull back on that." And he was like, "No." And they said, you know, The Simpsons does it the way Homer treats Bart, and like South Park does it the way the parents engage with the kids, and so on. Like that's what people love with cartoons. And he said, "No, there's not enough of those cartoon families out there that actually just get along. They just
Yeah.
love
Good
each other." So he
family,
And I think
fought for
that's-
that, and I think it brings a lot to that show.
Yeah,
Totally.
and I think to be honest, that's probably why I didn't watch it before, is because I lumped it in with like The Simpsons and Family Guy and stuff like that. And I was just like, because I mean, while those shows appeal to some people, the humor isn't always like what I find enjoyable. So that's
Yeah.
I think that's why I didn't watch Bob's Burgers like in the beginning, is just because I just assumed it was all lumped in with those. But I'm glad I've started. I think I'm in season. I want to say I'm in season 4 right now. I've been told to hold off watching the movie until after season 13, I think is what I've been told, because I didn't realize there was a movie as well.
Couldn't tell you.
So
I actually didn't. I've never seen the movie unless Hulu just has it like lumped in.
Yeah.
Because Allie and I have rewatched that show probably 2 or 3 times. We
Yeah.
love it. It's one of our favorites. But I've never sought
Yeah.
out the movie, so hopefully it's just part of
yeah, because
Like wherever.
I mean, while my week hasn't been nearly as stressful as like Alex, and I haven't had as much tragedy, fortunately, I've had some stuff going on at work. It's been a little stressful, so I therefore wanted to have as Alex would say, a warm bath show. So I have
Yeah.
been really digging into Bob's Burgers. But outside of that, I think that's all I've been up to.
Okay.
nice.
All right. So with my week, I did play quite a bit of games. Let's go off with what I played earlier today, which was KOTOR. Doing that on Star Wars Sundays, twitch.tv
Yeah.
/testing room pod. We are getting into like the going for the star map of Manan, which is the last star map. And then from there, we'll just be beelining it straight towards the end. Because I was told that once you finish that part of last star map, it'll lock you out of pretty much most things. And I did a lot of cleanup today. So there was one mission set that I have never played through and I didn't know about. There is this Rhodian on Manan who talks about this type of group who's been working in the background for thousands of years, hundreds of years or whatever, assassinating people to make, the politics go the proper ways they want to, kind of that old shtick you hear in a whole bunch of different types of fantasy,
Yeah.
whatever. So he was having me go and essentially be an assassin and go like, hey, I need you to kill this guy here. I need you to kill that guy here. You come back to me. We'll get you some cool, rewards. And then maybe we'll let you join our group, the Geno Haradon or something like that. So I did all those assassinations.
Sounds suspicious.
Yeah, right. So he's like, no one knows about us. Like, you can't even talk to him with your party members there. You have to come by yourself. So I do all these. I go dictate on these assassins. I come back to him, and this is gonna be spoilers for like a 20-year-old game now. He's like, oh, cool. Well, here's all the cool stuff that you get for killing these people. And by the way, thank you for helping me take out the other leaders of this group. We have 4 of us. And we are all not known to each other, so that way we can't go around fucking around. But I did some research and did a lot of work to find out who these people are. Had you go and take them down for me, and now I'm the only leader left. So now I get to take over the entire group. And I'm like, no, how that works. I'm pretty pissed off that you used me. He's like, all right, well, if you really want to, we'll do a one-on-one battle, but you got to travel all the way to Tatooine in the Dune Sea, and we're gonna do it there. I'm like, all right.
You're like, this is a lot.
I'm like,
It seems
so
a bit
yeah.
much.
I'm like, okay.
It's a lot.
I go there. I'm like, okay, gotta go by myself because he says to go by yourself. And as soon as I exit the door to the Dune Sea, it's like him and 7 other people, fighters. Luckily, the combat doesn't start right away. So I'm like, okay, turn right back around, go back inside the door to Mos Eisley, get my party members going, come back outside, we go fight them, we take them all down. I'm pretty much taking down most people without like any problems because I've been doing side quests and stuff like that and just kind of getting leveled up. So I'm pretty good off for the rest of the game.
I imagine, like, in the
said, "Wait a
world of this game, he and all of his buddies are standing there in the desert. They're like, "All right, here he comes, guys." And you just like land and you walk off your ship, you see everybody, and you just turn around and like get back on and leave, and they're just like, what?
I'll be right back. Wait, one moment. I'll be right back. Yeah.
I know. And then you just come back and you're just like, well, that was unexpected, right?
Yeah, there's even dialogue. He's like, it's like, I thought I'd be able to trick you into coming by yourself. I thought you were gullible, but I guess you're not gullible enough. And I'm like, well, you got me for a second, but then I saw you guys from a distance. I'm like, fuck that. I'm going right back.
That's so funny.
Yeah, got a bunch of good equipment from them, like some really good stuff there. Half of it I won't be using, but it's pretty good. But yeah, we're just now going through Manan. Dude, we did a little bit of that like trek towards the star map in Manan, and those fucking like underwater suits where you're tiptoeing, just like there's nothing for you to fight because you can't fight in that suit. I mean, there's those little shark guys that you just press a little button for and it sends out the emitter that just makes them like go turn upside down. But that one's gonna be a little bit of a slog, so I'm not super looking forward to it. But we'll get done with it, and then we'll go off and finish off the rest of the game. I'm super excited. So, but yeah, we're well off. I got all my purple lightsabers. We got everything all leveled up. It's all great. Then I've been playing more of Star Wars Outlaws. I don't feel as good about it as Travis's friend and co-host of Nerds with Mics. Is that right? Nerds with Mics, Mics with Nerds?
Yes. No, Nerds with Mics. You're good.
Mike's
nerds.
in Nerds.
Nerds on Trikes.
Nerds on Trikes. So with this game, I do enjoy it when I play it. It's not a bad game by any means. Now, it has plenty of glitches. The NPCs are a little lifeless unless they're aliens, and then you don't see it as well, so it's not as bad. But I am loving the world that they have. Like, the open world maps they have are fucking phenomenally gorgeous. They're big, they're varied. I just got to the last one, which is like this jungle area, which is looking super fucking cool. Tatooine itself, which is usually just a basic like desert wasteland, like you go see when I play KOTOR, it's just fucking sand for days. Just so much more built into the landscape of that. I was just walking along, kind of like I told you last time, just kind of like exploring the areas of some rock formations in Tatooine. And like off in the ditches, she goes, "What the hell is that?" And like you press the D-pad to it looks in that direction, and it's a fucking in the distance. This crate dragon just pops up and comes right back down. Like, oh, we're gonna fight a crate dragon or do something cool with that. I'm excited. I'm ready for it. So there's a lot of like Star Wars world building this game does very well that I like. Still playing, Kessel Sabak. I did finally run into Lando. He was on the last planet that I went to. Again, it's not great, but it's not bad. Its voice acting is fine. It's just not really giving me any Billy D or Donald Glover vibes for that matter. I'm not getting it's just generic. This dude's just playing a character, a suave character, I guess, if you will. But I was excited to see Lando. Lando's one of my favorite characters. I didn't feel as convinced that it was Lando. And then the mission you are on is a very short mission. It's not a whole lot going on with it. And I'm like, that was kind of... I mean, of course, they got him in the DLC, so there's going to be a whole mission scenario with him. This small mission with him being there is not pushing me towards getting that DLC at all for $40. So I'm enjoying the world. I'm loving being in that world, but I continuously get pulled out of it just by, I don't want to say lack of production, but just choices they've made to not pull me in as much. But I still enjoy it. I'm well over 20 hours into it. I'm like at 25-ish hours so far, so I'm getting close to the end, I think. Essentially right now you want to pull off a heist. You try to pull off a heist in the very beginning of the game. Didn't go well. You end up stealing the dude's ship, and that's how you get your ship. And then the rest of the game is you're going around to different planets, finding different party members to pull off this heist. And I'm at the last one right now. Unless they have some surprises towards the end on what we do with more party members, I should be getting possibly close to the end of that one. But it's fine. It's not keeping me from not wanting to. It's not making me not want to play it. So I do want to go back to it, but sometimes I just turn it on. I'm like, yeah, I'll play some more Outlaws. I get into it. I'm like, okay, I'm having fun, but it's just, I didn't go into this game thinking that's going to be a great game, so I don't want to say I'm like
Sure.
super disappointed, but I was kind of hoping a little bit of good. Those reviews were looking pretty well, and people were pretty stoked about it. So it's just that little bit of hype that I got right at the very beginning there just kind of been pushed down a little bit. But I do enjoy good chunks of it, if you will. So it's not the worst game in the world, but I don't think it's the greatest either. Yeah. Moving on from that, I did dabble a little bit with Space Marine 2. I don't want to talk about it too much because anything about the story pretty much leads in from the end of Space Marine 1, which we haven't finished up yet. So it's a good game. I'm just waiting for Christian to have some free time so we can do some co-op on it because I pretty much just got to play with him and then maybe a little bit on the side. Played about an hour of it. The game looks fantastic. That game is doing fucking things with the hordes it has, with the environment it has with it. It looks very good. Does not do well in the Steam Deck at all.
Did you?
Turn that down?
Well, so they said that optimization for the Steam Deck won't be there till the end of the year.
Sure, and I did not expect this to be out. I'm like, let's just see how it does. And I played it. I'm like, even on the lowest settings, it just chugs because there's so much going on with like the hordes of enemies that you get, and like the detail they try to do with it. Even bringing it down to low settings, it still chugs a lot on Steam Deck. So, but as far as my PC, I mean, I have a 2070, and it runs fine. It starts you off in I think quality mode. I turned it down to balanced, and it still was kind of chugging a little bit. Just went down to performance mode after that. It works perfectly fine, and still looks really good. So
Nice.
I'll get to that back to that when Christian starts having some free time. We can start doing some co-op with that. I did I did start up a month of Game Pass. I first started up the baseline because I figured, hey, you start up Game Pass, right? And Ultimate's only for if you want to play on PC. I'm like, I just want to play this new DLC for Persona 3 Reloaded, Aegis. And I start up the base pass, which is I think it's like $15, $16 or something like that. And it's like, oh, no, you don't have access. I'm like, I don't have access? Like, you need to have Ultimates. I'm like, cool. And I even like watched a video on like what the change was. And there is most of the big name games, like all the Mass Effect, like anything huge is not going to be on the baseline of Game Pass. It's all on Ultimate now, which is a $20 a month venture, which I'm sure they're going to raise the price of soon. So
Well, that's annoying.
yep. So if you want actually good Game Pass games, as far as like the breadth of like the we talked wildly about like Game Pass like when we first got really into it because it was a bunch of great games for a decent price. You got into it, and now with this Activision Blizzard thing, they're letting people go because I mean it was bound to happen. But Microsoft is like, oh, you want to spend tens of billions of dollars? Well, now you're gonna have to start trimming the fat for what else you got there because that was from us. Like that wasn't billions of dollars that you made Xbox. That was billions of dollars of Microsoft money. So they're starting to look at other parts of their company and seeing what they can get rid of to keep Activision Blizzard and make it profitable, which means getting rid of access to a lot of games on Game Pass for the base model. So that kind of sucks. I did play a little bit of the Persona 3 Aegis, the DLC. It used to be known as The Answer, but for this remastered remake version of it, they call it the name of the character, Aegis, which is like the AI robot party member that you get in the game. I can't talk about the story at all because it completely spoils the end of Persona 3 Reload, so I won't be doing that. All I'll say is that it just seems like more dungeons with a light story in there. Since, I mean, like, it's, again, I can't spoil anything, but there's no, like, social link stuff happening in the DLC, anything like that. It does let you transfer your save over. That does bring your Persona's compendium over, so, like, all the Personas that you've discovered or have found, you can, like, just pay money to get. But those prices are raised incredibly high. So, like, a normal Persona that I find that I can, like, just make, usually around, right now, like, for my level, like, 8,000 for those Personas. If you want the Personas that you pulled from your compendium over from the main game, it's costing you around like over 30,000, which is not some money that I have lying around. So I'm just like, I just won't be doing this, I guess. I got some costumes I brought over from the other one, and that's about it. So I am actually putting this game, or this like DLC, if you want, on hold for like a time that I don't have anything else to do. Because I got a lot of games I'm playing right now. It's not the greatest. When I play Persona games, I want to have a little bit of that social feature in there, do some like daily stuff. But like you're confined to it's not a tower. You go down into something, but like it's pretty much that. But you're just going down instead of up, and it's not the greatest. I wasn't expecting it to be great. People have always said that the answer, the DLC for the original Persona 3, was not great at all. So I wasn't expecting this to be wildly different. I was hoping maybe improvements to make it at least more enjoyable. But from what I've been seeing on most reviews, it's like, no, it's the answer. It looks better, but it's still that DLC that people weren't wild about in the first place. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll play it when I have some like random free time and I really need something to play. Christian said he's going to be buying, the package, whatever, when it comes onto Steam or when he gets it on Steam. So I'm like, I might dabble into it then, because bringing your save over doesn't matter as much. So putting that one on hold. Last game of my plethora of games, I have been playing an insane amount of Zenless Zone Zero, which, yes, is the correct name of the game. I wrote it down this way proper and looked it up beforehand. I thought about doing a joke. I'll do it probably next week when Christian's on. I've just keep continuously changing the name. But I'm absolutely in love with this game. For those who don't know, it's a Hoyo game, which means that there is plenty of ways to sink some money into some gambies on trying to get certain characters and stuff like that. I have not got Jane Doe yet. I am 30 pulls away from my hard pity. There's a soft pity and a hard pity. Your hard pity gamble is every, I think, 9 or 10 gambles, you get a guaranteed A rank character, which is going to be just the characters on the banner for that week. The numbers go up for the 3 that they have there on the banner. And then the S rank character, which is Jane Doe this week, you get a 50-50 shot of getting her once you get the hard pity, which is... I want to say, I can't even remember the number now. I want to say it's well over 100, or I think it's around 80, 90 pulls. So each individual pull, I usually do 10 pulls a piece. I can probably get about 10 pulls within a couple days without spending any money. So I'm now down to the 30 that I started off with 80. So I've done about 50 pulls. And just to be fair, I'm playing the game. I'm getting the pulls. It's not like I'm having to put money in to get to there. So the free play is still working for me. I did put some money into, they have 2 type of plans or passes, if you will. You got a pass you can pay $5 for. It'll give you currency every day for that month. You just got to log in. So you spend $5, you get about, I don't remember the amounts of like, hey, this amount, $5, how much does it weigh in on these type of currencies? But they give you a lump sum right when you pay for it, and then it gives you like 90 of those currencies. Every day. You need 160, 140 for one pull. So you kind of think of it that way. And then you get a bunch of that currency as you play through the game. I've finished the main story of that game. There's 3 chapters as you go through. They kind of just deal with the overall story of what's happening with this world and the hollows that appeared and all the ethereal monsters that are within there and the shenanigans of companies and corporations that are trying to get in and out of there and make some money off of that. It's done really well. Everything is kind of like you get that Blizzard-esque thing of to where like I'm going to play the game, and then once I get towards the end of this chapter, I'm going to be rewarded with a really fucking sweet, amazingly done cutscene, which is what I've been doing. And then outside of that, there's a bunch of side stuff you can do. Like there's an event going on right now, like there's like a holiday or whatever that's happening. Went through that. There's a bunch of weird like little mini games you can do to go through there. A bunch of currencies involved as well. You do not have to pay any money to get into those events. You just play them, which are free, which are nice. And then as you are going through and leveling up, you are also unlocking tapes, which are character-specific stories. So as you go through, you're unlocking all these fun little side things for specific characters. So if you like a character a lot, you can go through and just get like a chapter or whatever, if you will, based off of those characters. So it's been really nice. It's been feeding me stories. It's been feeding me things to do. I don't feel like I'm just grinding just to grind. It's giving me a lot of fun stuff to do. I love that game. It's really, really good. It's free. If anyone wants to give it a little dabble and give it a little try before the
I have a
year.
question.
Yeah.
Yeah. So who did the free-to-play model better, Snap or Zenless? Whatever that.
I mean, 1000%
name of that game's
Zenless
called.
Zone Zero. I mean, to be fair,
Okay.
they give you hard facts. I mean, Christian mentioned it last time on the podcast, but like it's developed in a country to where like they have to give you the rolls or the percentages. And as far as like what they just give you, I mean, they give you plenty of characters off the bat. And there's a certain point, I think it's hundreds of pulls, but after a couple hundred pulls, you are guaranteed a select character. So like if you're like, hey, I've been playing this game, I really like this character, but I haven't been able to get them, like you are able to select that character. It's cool. A lot of pulls. I have not gotten that free pull yet, and I've been playing a lot. I've probably been playing close to I'll check it less time. If I had to guess, probably close to 40 to 50 hours of that game. Because I play a lot of it. I play a lot of that game.
Yeah.
In my free time. Because it's something I can easily pull up.
What are you
I can
mostly
pause
playing
it
it
when I
on?
need to.
PC or Steam or what?
I play during the day. Whenever I have some time, I'll play it on the PC while I'm sitting here at the office desk. But at night, at the very end of it, like I usually leave myself about an hour or so to kind of like go through if I want to, just kind of clean up some stuff, do whatever daily stuff I need to do with it. It's doing a lot for me. I like it a lot. But yeah, it's highly recommend it. It is a free entry game. Jump in it, see if it's your thing. If you don't like the combat, get the fuck out of it because that's the only thing that you'll be really getting into. Everything else is just like fun mini games. Like this event game, like it's when you're going through the Hollow, which are these areas that have all the monsters in them, right?
Yeah.
Or like the bad people, because there's like bandits that go in there too. To navigate that, you are a proxy who helps people navigate through there because you got a computer that helps you out, and you like not possess, but you control this little Bang Boo, which is like this little rabbit fluffy creature that everyone has. It's kind of a part of the world. But the way you navigate that is like a bunch of CRT TVs pop up and you're navigating the little Bang Boo through those screens. You'll see like little enemy icons. That's what jumps you into there to do the combat scenarios. But there's also fun like little side mini games you can do. Like this event one had it to where it's pretty much like a rhythm game to where it's like a Necrodancer almost, to where you have a screen, a bunch of CRTs, and like I'd say like a 10 by 10 screen, and you have that little Bang Boo, and you have to move by the rhythm, and then all of a sudden these like red screens come in, and you have to like, avoid those. You can dodge them if you do it perfectly, or you can just kind of go around them, but you all have to do it to the rhythm. It's a lot of fun, like little small things that kind of just change it up a little bit. That don't make it just, hey, I'm running through CRTs, I hit the enemy, I unlock a door, you're done. It's not just that. It's a lot of variation within there, so I like it a lot. Zenless Zone Zero is a really fun game. It got me.
I'll check it out.
Hoyo got me. Fucking did it. Genshin didn't get me. Honka almost got me because it's sci-fi, but it didn't. And then now it's like this is a retro future with CRTs. You run a video store. You have to every day, not have to, but you can every day stock up on your videos to show what you're renting out this week based off of the themes and just people who come in there who are like, hey, I want this, like I want like a thriller, but I want it to be like super spooky and crazy with the aliens. And like you go through like your videos that we have, and they all have like nice little artwork and like little small descriptions of them, so you can find out what the recommendation is. And it's a fun little game, man. I like it a lot. I like it a lot. So. But yeah, other than that, shows, Ring of Power is pretty much the only show I'm like watching strongly. I did start up because I'm watching Amazon, Mr. and Mrs. Smith with Glover, and I forget her name, but
Allie and I caught up on that earlier this year. Yeah, it was
not bad.
We enjoyed
I'm
it a
enjoying
lot.
it. Yeah, I'm like 3 episodes in, but it's I love Glover. I love everything he does. He's very charismatic.
I have a prediction. Maybe I've said this to you guys before, but I think they're going to follow. I think they're going to do that show in minimum 3 seasons, and they're going to follow the movie, but they're going to do it per season. So, like in the movie, you know, her and Brad Pitt are doing their married thing. They're assassins, right? Then pretty quickly they turn on each other because they're trying to kill each other, and then they like get together again to take down the entity. I bet that's the season the show we see. We're gonna learn about them as assassins, where they're gonna dive deeper into their actual
and they
job.
may get a little more relationship as they go through because it's like a fake marriage.
I think seasons move on. We're gonna see them go after each other, and then eventually they're gonna come back together to take down the organization.
Yeah.
That's my guess.
I just finished the episode that had the I forget his name, but he's a great actor. The guy from Oh Brother Where Art Thou and Big Lebowski, where like the two have to play as a dog, like in a weird sexual way. It's very funny. But yeah, it's a good show so far. I'm enjoying it.
Mm-hmm. Got their chemistry is great.
Yeah, their chemistry is fantastic. I love both of those actors, and their chemistry is phenomenal. I'll have more shows to talk about this coming week once it happens, because we got Agatha's show, and then we also have Penguin. That side show, a miniseries, is happening this week as well. Starting.
I have seen the entire gamut of Penguin reviews from like IGN and other places giving like 8s and 9s, and people saying like this is one of the best comic book shows ever done, and Colin Farrell's amazing. I've heard Colin Farrell say I don't want to suit up as Penguin again for another season because it was very draining on me. Sure. And then I saw other reviews saying like, oh, it was a slog to get through. So I have no idea where this is gonna fall, but like I do know it ends 1 week prior to Matt Reeves' Batman #2. So that's where this falls in. So like they're filming the second Batman movie, right?
So like it's not going to end before the second Batman movie like releases, but it's going to like bookend, right?
Correct. So the story of the season, right, the show will timeline wise end 1 week before the second movie kicks off. So this is post movie number 1, pre movie number 2.
I should probably watch that
That's cool.
before it happens. So the first one again. I haven't watched that in a while.
Yeah.
But yeah. Other than that, that's my week. It's a big one. It's my week.
That is a big one. All right. Well, as we said, we're here to do a little side quest today, since we will. I'll be honest. I'm not quite sure when we will cap off the book club because we also have D&D this week. So
if everything goes swimmingly, after this week will be the finale of Space Marine, and then we'll have a D&D episode the week after.
D&D episode.
If everything goes the way we want it to.
So
who knows?
But this week, who knows? This week is our side quest, though. And Travis actually said he would bring a topic to chit chat about. So we're gonna see what he has.
Yeah.
This episode of the podcast is sponsored by Comic Headquarters. If you are looking for a trade paperback or hardcover, the guys over at Comic Headquarters can help. Even if they don't have what you're looking for, they'll offer to order it in for you. Visit comichqstl.com today, where you can contact them and order that trade paperback or hardcover that you've been looking for. Or give them a call at 314-433-5449. Let them know that the testing room sent you, and you can get 10% off your order.
Yeah, so the topic that I wanted to bring up is, and I think you all probably lightly touched about some of this in certain episodes, but I don't think there's necessarily been a dialogue around it, but it is when it's time to call it quits. And what I mean by that is like evaluating, like we're going to primarily focus on video games, but you could realistically apply this for any medium.
Sure.
But we're going to evaluate in video game series that have overstayed their welcome. Maybe some that are no longer around, maybe some that are still around.
This is a perfect topic to not have Christian here, because in his opinion, everything ends after number 1. Christian thinks everything overstays their welcome.
Say that. So that's the person who plays Space Marine 2 recently, so yeah.
Yeah, no, I know,
and
not
all those
everything,
trial games.
But we do know Christian. He is fine, more so than I think we are, with a definite ending.
Oh, for sure.
Right? Like,
yeah.
he likes
He
things
loves
to
Devil
end,
May
so-
Cry. He loves Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
There's all that there. He likes sequels, but he prefers if it just you give him a good one and just walk away, a.k.a.
Yeah.
the bear. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so what I kind of wanted to do is I wanted to kind of walk us through a couple of different sections. There's even maybe a little debate section that we'll have around some different games. But first, I kind of wanted to talk about like what kind of understanding like what kind of harm can come from overstaying your welcome. So I kind of wanted to touch on that real quick, and then we can kind of get into a discussion. So obviously, if a game series overstays its welcome, a lot of times you see a decline in innovation and quality at times. It's a lot of rinse and repeat, which leads to repetitiveness, a lack of new content, right? And then obviously, with the people that are consuming that content, a lot of times it's negatively received, right? Now, of course, you'll have those people that are diehard true and trues that like could just continue to eat it up and just avoid like hearing anything else about it, right? And then obviously, so I wanted to kind of talk about like, is there any games, and we'll get into this further down, but are there any games that stick out to you that when you hear games that have overstayed their welcome that just immediately come to your mind? I'd be curious to hear, without putting much thought into it, I would love to hear what you would have.
I bet you it's the same one I'm thinking of.
It could be a game or a series, I guess.
Yeah, mine's a series that's overstayed its welcome, and I'm guilty of contributing to this. But I would say Assassin's Creed. And to your point, like when you consistently crank these things out, they get very derivative. So, I mean, I can't tell you the last time you actually saw like new mechanics or something new and interesting in this game. Like even Mirage, which was like smaller because they got so bloated. I mean, doing the viewpoints, jumping off and doing like the free fall, that's still there. The way you assassinate is still there. The open combatness, if you want to go open versus just walking around, has been there since Origins, right? Like when and maybe before, Actually, I think before that, but Origins really opened it up because Origins is the new style of gameplay. That was the one in the desert. But if you think about it, that was Origins, that was Odyssey, that was Valhalla. I mean, we're on our 4th iteration of that, right? Yeah. And we haven't seen anything new. And it's funny, like, even if you look at Shadow, which is coming out, you're going to play as a samurai and you're going to play as, I think, a ninja or whatever the female protagonist is. I mean, we've done the dual protagonist for a while. I think the only original thing that I've actually seen is them talking about how, with all that gear on, Yusuke will, like, jump from high areas and maybe stumble a little bit. And you're like, okay. So, like, the new innovation you gave me is the fact that, like, now weight comes into play when you're doing stuff. But really, like, those games, while I do love some of them, and I love the quote-unquote historical inaccuracies, if you will, but the historical piece of it, and even the mythos they started bringing in with the newer ones since Origin, they are very derivative. And if Odyssey never happened, if it was only Origins, and Valhalla never happened, like, I think that's okay, right? Or if 2 would have happened, they didn't do it, I think that's fine. But they've overstayed their welcome. And I don't think... I will probably play Shadows because, like, that is what happens with me. Right?
It's your sickness.
Especially if I can get a 2-for-1 and do a month and knock out both Shadows and Outlaws in the same month, like, in one subscription, like, that I would actually be willing to do. But I don't have high hopes for it, right? Because, like, I had high hopes for Mirage being smaller and tighter story, and they did the same bullshit that every other game has done. Every other Assassin's Creed has done. So, right off the bat, that's one that sticks out to me as a series that's overstayed their welcome. And, sorry, I know I'm talking a lot here.
It's fine.
I think the problem is, like, I think that series overstayed its welcome. But, like, I don't think it's a developer fault of they've run out of original story. I just think that's what happens now with some of these studios when you go, well, we have a quote-unquote cash cow, and it doesn't take us too much to make these games, but we get a big return on investment, and that's just that financing department. Just keep printing the money, right? Keep cranking it out, and that's what we're left with. You don't want to step too far out of the bounds because you don't want to make fans angry. You don't want to try something new. You don't want to lose that money. So you do just make it the same game over and over again with a new skin. And that kind of sucks.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Now,
I would say... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just say, before we go to you, I did have a question to follow up with your comment about, and this may also apply to you, but do you think that, like... Because if you remember, we haven't always had yearly refreshes of these franchises. It typically used to be bi-weekly, and then it's went to every year.
Bi-yearly,
right?
yeah.
Do you think switching to that formula has made, like, this a bigger problem? Like, the lack of innovation because they are cranking them out so fast as opposed to having a longer amount of time?
Assassin's Creed change to the bi-yearly because of that?
No, it's yearly.
Is it? Okay, I thought they changed
Mirage Mirage came out last year.
And then Valhalla the year before that?
Valhalla was the year before that. And so I think there were 2 years between Origins and Odyssey, and 2 years between Odyssey and Valhalla, but all of a sudden it went Valhalla, Mirage, and this year Shadow. And, you know, Preston, I think you probably remember when they decided to do that officially, which was a year or so ago, when they announced Project Jade, the other big Assassin's Creed, and something else all at the same time, right? They're essentially like, hey, we're turning our studio into a yearly thing. Yeah, I absolutely think the yearly piece has led to this. I think you can actually blame somebody else on the yearly thing, and I think you could blame that on Call of Duty when they had Treyarch.
You're naming all the things I have listed here. But
Call of Duty was going to be one of them I was going to mention. Yeah.
So Call of Duty, I forget who they had, right? But remember they had Treyarch working on, like, the Modern Warfare games, and then they had the other team working on then they had the other team working on the Black Ops games, and they were alternating. So it was year, and I think they probably started it. That's not a sports game, obviously. Sports games do yearly, but that's different. So,
yeah, go ahead, Preston.
Yeah, I mean, Call of Duty was going to be one of the big ones because those come out every year. They have very little innovation. It's kind of, they do like the whole Nintendo system thing, to where it's like we got to have a gimmick every time we put out something new. Like with this one, it's omnidirectional dodging or whatever the fuck it is. They have it's. Yeah, it's like, oh, we can dodge every direction now. I'm like, dude, it's the 17th game. Have you seen
the clips? Dude, I saw a clip the other day. I would have snapped my controller in half. Shit. This guy was aiming up at a window, and somebody jumped out of the window and did the 360 no-scope, but was like corkscrew spinning. It's omnidirectional now. So the guy shooting couldn't hit him. and he got sniped, and I was like, I would have snapped my controller
Yeah.
in half.
People are doing crazy shit. Jeff Gershman was talking about all sorts of crazy shit. Like he dove off of a building and ended up like in like a tub or some shit like that. And like you can do some crazy shit with that omnidirectional stuff. But either way, it's still the same fucking game. You're still just shooting, and it's not doing great things with the story. I mean, who knows what happens with this one being based on the '90s? But like it's not going to be fantastic. And I'm very sour because I've put that on my gaming league last year, and it was supposed to win me at least basic points, average points on my gaming league, and it ended up being the worst rated, reviewed fucking Call of Duty game ever. And I'm like, well, fuck this series altogether. Mass Effect, I mean, it kind of a little bit longer too. People hated 3.
Hey. Let's
Andromeda
be careful here.
Wasn't very well received.
Andromeda.
But the main one that I wanted to discuss was God of War. God of War has been going 1, 2, and 3. There's always been like a technical upgrade with like the original 3, but going to different systems and stuff like that. And then there, whatever you want to call it, God of War 4, God of War, whatever you want to call it, the one to where it's more of a the Viking setting. But the one after that, like me and Alex talked about it all the time when we were going through it, because we were doing the podcast during that year. And it's just, it felt more the same. The story was just all right, but like nothing felt new. It all felt like rinse and repeat of the last game. And I think that hurt it a little bit. I mean, it still looked like a great game. It still had a decent story here and there. But for the most part, it just felt super samey to me. Like it did nothing that was like, I need to play this because it was amazingly different or anything changed up. And like going from 3 to, if you want to call it 4, that is a huge difference. That is a giant jump in like how we're playing the game. It's still, you're still beating the shit out of stuff. Kratos is still fucking yelling at everybody. Like it's still that kind of thing. But when you went from that God of War 4 to Ragnarok, that felt super samey again. I'm like, are we back here? Are we back here doing the same thing again?
You actually make a great point, Preston, in 2 things, actually. But the God of War, will start there. Remember when we did the new one, whatever that was called?
Ragnarok.
Just God of War. Just God...
Ragnarok
was the first... Yeah, just the first God of War. From the old one to the new one, it was a completely new game. Because it wasn't like the quick time events to kill things. You weren't like ripping... It wasn't rinse or repeat of every enemy. It was like new and fresh and open world. And remember, like, how much heart that game had.
Yes.
Like, it was a father and son tale, and, like, you actually, like, they were bonding, and, like, you actually had emotion. Like, the game was freaking incredible. But then they go, well, we have to capitalize on this. And so the second game had less heart. They actually came back on, like, the ability to fight with both of you, and they really focused on mostly Kratos. And, like, tried to find all the things that made it unique, but they lost it because they go, it's less about the story, it's more about printing that money again. So they lost all the things that everybody loved, which was the heart of the game. And they, to your point, are back to just like,
I think the only way
the mechanics and the
they
fights
could
and the
fix that
spectacle
would be you don't play as Kratos the next game.
They should have killed
play as a
Kratos.
son.
They should have killed him.
You play as a son in this third game. You leave it at that. You just make it different mechanics, different ways of playing. You change it up so much to where I think that would be the better bet. Maybe you play a little bit like the small amounts you played as the kid in that game. Maybe you switch that around. You play a little bit as Kratos here and there in these crazy missions. But I think that's the only way
they should have done that. They should have done that after 1. They should have killed Kratos at the end of 1, and like really hammered home like that gut wrenching thing of these two bonding. And then the next one would have been new and original, but they're so scared to do that. And I didn't know when you said Black Ops 6 place in the 90s. I think we're on Black Ops 6 or something now. Right?
Yeah.
Think about it. That's so insane. That series started off in Vietnam, and they have almost caught up to where Modern Warfare began.
Yeah, Modern Warfare.
Like, we're almost they've almost
kind of
merged
pretty much right
into
there
each
now,
other,
yeah.
which is insane.
Yeah,
Like, that's all
crazy to
derivative.
think about. Yeah. But you actually hit on 2 the games that I had. So for declining quality and innovation, I had Call of Duty, because it had been criticized obviously a lot for repetitive mechanics and lack of innovation. And then for repetitive gameplay, my example was Assassin's Creed, with the switching to the annual release and all that stuff.
God of War is a great call out that I hadn't thought about.
That is a great call out. Now, I did also want to bring up commercial versus creative motivation, and we kind of touched on that, right? Like Alex had alluded to having a cash cow, right? But I also think about, and this might be a hot take, and this isn't a dig because I'm not a huge sports game person, but like FIFA, everybody eats that up every year, but typically isn't usually drastically improved.
Just a roster
Madden,
improvement.
The 2K, Yeah, the 2K football games. Like those are cranked out every year, and mostly it's like maybe a slight fresh of paint and then updated rosters, but not a whole lot changes between them. But
Yeah.
because obviously people are huge sports fans, but wouldn't it be great if they just maybe offered, hey, this year here's $20 to update rosters and some new features, as opposed to have to spend $70 every single year.
That
You know
would
what I
be
mean? For, like,
incredible.
sports ga-
You could take that time and effort and that manpower and do something like, hey, we're going to do an NBA Street type of deal this year. You can pay $20 to update your roster on 2K, whatever the fuck basketball game we have out this year. From last year, you can just update the roster with $20, and then we're gonna make this new game, which is NBA Street or some shit like that. Like, I think that'd be a much better idea, but that's just me.
Yeah, I'm honestly surprised that somebody hasn't released a live service sports game of some kind.
I mean,
You know what I
So
mean?
they have FIFA is live service.
FIFA's pretty much that.
So
Well, I meant
essentially-
like as far as like a month. You pay for a monthly service.
yes and no. You don't pay for a monthly service, but they every month or couple months they essentially have their own battle pass, if you will. And they have different cards, so you unlock different playing packs and you open them up. And every month they have different top tier players, which means the meta. So when you're playing online changes. So like maybe I'll use players that people know, right? Maybe Ronaldo and Messi had a gold card this month that made them like the top tier card to score all your goals. Well, next month the booster pack may have been updated with like other players, so then you have to keep playing and buy more packs to get those players, otherwise everybody's going to beat you, right? So like it is live service, but it's not. They don't force you to pay it, but if you don't pay it, then you just can't compete online. You're going to get beat constantly.
Gotcha.
Which is insane. I love the idea that Preston gave. I hadn't thought about that. I was like, the problem with sports is you kind of have to come out with the new name every year because it's a new season, right?
Right.
They'll never do the $20 to update your
No, 'cause
roster.
they can get
because
60, 70 out of these people every year.
because they get 70, right?
Yeah.
And like, why would you lose
They're not gonna do
$50?
it,
Like,
but
that's
they should. They're
insane.
not
No,
going to.
they should, but that's insane. You're talking to EA, like one of the most corrupt companies in the history
Take
of the
less than
planet.
$50 less a year off these kids.
Yeah.
They're not going to do that.
Oh, but Preston, actually, that's a great idea. Like, if you alternated between the street version and the one, and that would, and you're saying, hey, like, we're going 2 years, we're going to create better campaigns, better management modes, we're going to do all this stuff, giving us 2 years in between to do it. That would be a fun way. And people used to love Street, right?
Oh,
like,
yeah,
you could do
the Street
so much
series
with
were
that
great.
stuff.
A change up. Rather than having the same NBA game every year, do something different. Do some crazy, wacky arcade version, NBA Jam, whatever you want to fucking
Blitz.
do. Yeah, just do something wacky. And it doesn't have to be, like when you call the basketball like on off for it. You can have like, no, we're gonna have the same game. We don't need to update FIFA because the consoles haven't updated. Maybe when PS5 Pro comes out, we'll do a new version of it for like to acquire the power of that console.
Yeah.
But like, just have fun with it. Do hits one year, do blitz one year. Like, just kind of go wacky shit here and there. Like, just do different games. Put that money towards other games other than sports. And if you want to, fuck it. Charge them $50 to $60 next year just for a year pass or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just for some type of upgrade. Like, hey, we're going to do version 3.0. It's going to cost everybody $50 if you want to get in on it. Like, there's ways you can go about it if you wanted to, but they don't. And they're doing exactly what we're talking about today, which is just running this shit into the ground because people pay for it.
And now that you say that, like, it has me thinking there's so many things you could do. So for like soccer, if you did a street version, of course you have like the street game, but you could also add in different gameplay modes. Like, people who don't follow soccer, I'm sure, don't know this, but like you could easily do like the beach soccer. You could do a 3-on-3. They have something called futsal, which is essentially like soccer with a little tiny ball, and they're usually 7-on-7 on a side. You play on a court the size of a basketball court. You could do indoor. Like, there are
You could have
different
just
modes within
urban
that.
shit to where
But,
like dogs come into play, fucking running into the fucking little play field, shit like that. Like, just fun weird shit that would happen.
But think about like even basketball, like you could do street basketball, but in that same game you could add different modes like the 3v3 or the 5v5 that actually have their legit leagues now that are played on like a half court, and you play like basket and people take the ball if you make it. Even hockey, you could throw in like a pond hockey version out
you have
there,
to
right?
do
Like, there's
game
so
off when a car comes by. You have to press the QTE stuff to get your shit off the fucking street
They're
before
just-
a car comes by. That'd be
They're
great shit.
just there's so many goofy things you could do. It'd be hilarious. That are like legit ways people play the
Fun.
sport today.
Make it a game.
Right?
Yeah.
Make it a game.
You could
Bring
think it
back the
evolved,
game.
yeah.
Make games again.
Makes
There you
games
go.
great again.
What a campaign! What a campaign that is. Make games again. Love that.
People don't. I honestly think streaming, and I blame streaming for a lot of things, but streaming has legitimately impacted our games in such a negative way that legitimately things have become more competitive and everything has to be realistic. It has to look the best because a better looking game and my better looking rig is going to get people to come watch me. Like, we have legitimately lost the ability to have fun in some ways. Like, action games still capture that, right? Like your Devil May Cries, your Bayonettas and stuff, like, and the Metroidvanias, like, they have their diehard fans and they can go a little bonkers. But when it comes to sports, like, they don't make street games anymore. Hockey, like NHL 94 has a tournament mode. I was actually watching somebody play this a couple months ago. Has a tournament mode where you can play, like, you can intermix the real hockey teams with kind of like NBA Jam style, like zombies, like a team of literal just zombies or clowns, or there's one called the Bear Men, which are just big bears. So they're just like, we have lost the ability to have fun like that
they don't
because
have to.
everything has to look real, or everything has to like be for the streaming community. And like, when you take the goofiness into account, it doesn't always draw people in. There are genres that still do it, but there are a lot of genres that have lost that ability to just like have fun with themselves.
Bringing back zombies to Call of Duty this year.
Yeah,
they are.
I remember.
They are.
I remember one of the NASCAR games had a mode where you could shoot paintballs out of your car.
That would be fun.
Just little things like.
Make a very boring
and
fucking sport fun. Yeah.
And of course, like GoldenEye with big head mode and slappers
Yeah,
only
dude.
and all kinds of stuff. You
Golden
know what I mean?
Gun,
Just to
yeah.
mix up the
Like,
variety.
Fortnite has its gimmick in the sense
Has
that
a lot
like
of
you
gimmicks.
can build stuff and you can do your like different cosmetics. But again, all of the cosmetics, it's not about having fun. The cosmetics are pandering to the streamers because literally those cosmetics and dances anymore have become a status symbol. Like, look at the cosmetic that I bought on the store. But like, all those shooters, Call of Duty, everything, it's all cosmetic looks. We've lost that big head mode, the paintball mode, like the knives only mode, right? Like, all the goofy stuff that was just fun to play, like, don't exist in these
Playing as
things
Cheech and Chong in
anymore.
this new Call of Duty.
Ridiculous. But again,
I will-
it doesn't change the gameplay, it's just a skin,
No, it's just
right?
skin,
Like,
yeah.
it's just
Some different
something you can
dialogue,
buy and
yeah.
show off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will say the community made up games in Fortnite that's not the actual Fortnite games. Some of those are pretty creative, but
They got
outside
weird
of just
stuff
the
with like all the way to traverse now. Like you can get the spider swing, you can get the Iron Man boost, like all the flying superhero stuff, like all that stuff. They have a lot of weird modifiers, if you will, that can go into Fortnite. But base game may not have that. So,
But that's like, again, it shows that people want it. In Halo,
Correct.
same way. When the Forge comes out, people bring back Griffball because Griffball's amazing. People bring back Oddball, where you have the skull and you just run around with the skull and stuff. Like, it shows there's communities out there, if people are doing that in Fortnite, that want to have these fun things.
Yeah.
But the game developers go, "Nah, you guys can do it." But it's like, that's not my job. My job's that's literally your job. Like, that's what I'm paying you for, right? So just bring back the fun, man.
Yeah, because one of my favorite community games that I played in Fortnite with some people was Call of Duty used to have it. It was called Prop Hunt, where you'd have one person hunting, and then everybody would just with their gun shoot a prop and turn into that, and you had to like try to actually find people. Like, that's really fun. But I don't know the last Call of Duty game that was in.
It was in a recent one because I occasionally see a streamer that pops up that does it. But again, man, like,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
it's all I don't know. I'm sure people play it and have fun playing it. But every time I watch these people play that game, it's less about look at me playing Prop Hunt, how fun it is. It's more about, like, I'm a streamer, watch me exploit this game mode. Like, literally, like, I've got to find ways. I'm going to find ways to exploit it to hide in places you shouldn't be able to hide, or like hide myself behind another prop that you should be able to get behind so you'll never see me. It's like, cool, like, you won, I guess, but it's just not for the fun of it, right? Like, it's all about exploiting and being the best. Like, just have fun.
Yeah, so we need to get a trending hashtag, make games again, is what I'm hearing.
Make games
Is that
again.
Yes.
Yeah, that is.
Well,
new T-shirt.
let's go ahead and move on. So I wanted to kind of get into, and this isn't necessarily, I called this a debate series, but I don't necessarily know if it's a debate. It's really more so I kind of want to get your thoughts on it. But like, and I really wish Christian was actually here for this, and maybe he can give his thoughts if he listens to this one when you all record. Yeah, but what do you?
He can comment like a plebe. Go to the YouTube.
Don't say that to our listeners.
Well, so the Final Fantasy series, okay? Sure. So the overall, so I wanted to kind of talk about briefly, like, and I'm obviously not going to lead this section because I haven't played a ton of them, so I guess I really more so want your all's opinions. But the overall series evolution, I feel like, has been pretty decent. Some have been well received, some have been not well received. What do you think overall? Do you think this is a series that has gone on too long, or
Which
do you
series?
think this is Final Fantasy?
Oh.
Or do you feel like each one is different enough that like it doesn't? Because I feel like, I guess what I'm trying to get to is, are there certain series that we're okay with the rinse and repeat, or are there some series that does a great job of actually moving the needle and evolving every time they move up a game? I mean, obviously there might be some hit or misses.
I think Final Fantasy changes enough through generations. Like, obviously you got like what, 1 through 5, 1 through 6. They're kind of, the stories are different, everything like that. But I mean, I don't play those games as far as the older ones. So like, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. But they are the usual top-down, JRPGs that you would recognize from that era. And then once you got into the more of the 3D era, we started changing it up with 7 and 8 and 9. And then that kind of advances a little bit more, the more graphical updates that we get for all these consoles, and then what more they can do with it with that different type of dimension. And then we got the recent one, which is the action-based, which is, it's not turn-based anymore. It's just more of a Devil May Cry type of game, to which I loved. And that has changed up the formula. Now, you go into the story about the things that they entail. Sometimes it can be kind of samesies. All dealing with Gaia and Mana and all that kind of stuff, and trying to save the Earth from whatever fucking shitty corporation or entity is trying to fuck up the Earth and the Gaia and the Mana thing. But I don't know, personally, I think Final Fantasy is doing it well as far as, they don't attach themselves to each game outside of sequels to a certain game, but most of them are pretty far away from the last couple games before it.
Okay.
Yeah, I have opinions on this. I actually wish Christian was here only to help me out with. I wish Christian was here to help me out with names, because he would know a couple of names better than I do. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know that we as a whole, like the royal we, are okay. I don't think Final Fantasy is actually as different as we think it is, right? Like, I think there have been unique stories. 7, when it came out, was unique from 1 through 6, because 1 through 6, they changed in like their environment, they changed in some of the things they brought in, but at the end of the day, it was just like heroes taking on the big bad, right? Yeah. And they were actually very similar in that, and they had the same character archetypes and stuff. 7 actually started to change it. I haven't beaten 8, so I actually can't give you my thoughts on 8 there. But like 9 was unique, 10 was unique. I think the problem with Final Fantasy, my issue with Final Fantasy, is that it is starting to become derivative of itself. I blame Final Fantasy X for it, because 10 was the first to have a sequel. Sure. Right? They did 10-2. And you can see 10-2 was a money grab. And it continued to be a money grab as they did like essentially the radio novel, if you will, and stuff like that. And the quality of 10-2 was not great. Like, we want a way to get girls to play more of these games. Let's focus 10-2 on just girls and their singing and dancing and changing their dress. Like, literally changing your skills is called using a dress sphere, and you just change your outfit. Like, it wasn't great. 11 was different, because 11 was in the works, and it was in its, it was an online game. But then, like, 13, again, wasn't great. And this is why I wish Christian was here, because he could help me, because, if I'm not mistaken, 9, 10, and 12 had people working on those games. 10 actually might be wrong. 9 and 12 had people working on those games that aren't at Square anymore. So you had some really unique games. However, the same director that did like 13 I'm pretty sure on this, was also doing, also worked on 7, also worked on Kingdom Hearts, and are also working on some of the newer stuff. And I think that's why we're starting to get derivative, is that they actually lost the ability to care about those unique stories. 16 was unique, 16 was awesome, but the reception wasn't as good, and I don't think Square was as happy with 16. So what are they doing? They're doubling down, and they're kind of building their press on 7 Rebirth, 7 Remake Part 2 or whatever, 7 Remake Part 3, and like they are going back to what they feel they do best because of the people that are still running those games. So if that made sense, I think it was unique, but Square is losing its uniqueness because of the people at the head of Square that Christian would be able... I want to say Nomura. That's probably not right.
Nomura sounds right.
It sounds right, but who knows? We oftentimes bring up these Japanese developers.
In the comment. We'll
I know. Christian would know, right? But like, 7 is different, right? We're changing things. We're making it the game we always wanted to make. But like, why didn't you? But also, like, I don't think the Royal We is really okay with that. I just think you have a certain subsection of fans that, like, these old games were their favorite games, so they're okay with just seeing remakes and redos. Like, look, I love 10. If they come out and redo 10 in the way they redid 7, I'll eat it up. I don't think it should exist, and I don't think they should do that.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a lot of people that are going to be okay with that, but I'm one of the small set of fans that will be excited about it. But it doesn't mean it's going to be new and unique. It's just going to be derivative of itself. And it's going to be a cash grab at the end of the day, because 10 exists. And if you want that story, you can go play it. But, you know, they know it's a successful game. I don't know. So, to answer your question, I'm torn on Final Fantasy. I love 14, one of my favorite games. 16 was awesome, 10, 9, so on. But I do think Square as a whole is making this series less unique and relying on the things they know will give them money, which is going to make the quality of the storytelling worse, because the production quality of 7 and everything else is top notch. So I can't hit them for the production quality, but the storytelling quality will be worse. And the way they make money will be worse, right? Like breaking 7 into 3 parts just because they can charge $70 3 times, if not 80 by the time the next game comes out. Who knows how much that one's going to be, right? So I don't know that we should be okay with it.
Okay, well, I like that take. I will be interested to hear what Christian either comments or says on when you all record next if he listens to this.
I would actually really like to know what Christian has to say about this too.
Might just save it for Comment Corner when he comes back in.
That'll
be the
that'll be a good call.
Week.
Yeah, I would like to hear his opinion on that, because I think it could be strong, and he might completely disagree. Yeah, he might completely disagree with me. Like, I mean, 16 was different, 14 is different.
I didn't hear you mention 15. Was 15 not well received?
15 was well received, but like 95% of 15 was incredible. Okay. But that last 10% or 5% was bad, right? And it was, and again, actually, that's a great point.
And I had Google up too.
And I closed it. I think 15 was also done by the same director that did like 13 and Kingdom Hearts and others and 7 and stuff. And that's what happened, right? That 15 was never gonna finish. They came in, they had 90% of it done, or 95. They fired or got rid of or moved on. Maybe they didn't. Maybe they kept just moved on to another project. The person was doing that, which is why the last part of 15 feels so disjointed. Because if you recall, at the end of that, you play with 4 characters. All of a sudden, one of your characters has something happen, and you go into like a 10-year time jump, and like the last 5% of that game is just like completely different. The ending sucks. They don't handle things well. They break up this friendship you've built for no reason, and like they don't really bring it back together. And then to tell the story of what happened, they released 4 DLCs that were all individually priced. And they were all like super unique, but not in like a fun, interesting way. They were just like, we're just gonna make it different because it's different. So I actually think 15 is a great example of, the people at the top.
The landing.
Yeah, because of the people at the top wanting to make money and caring about that rather than caring about the storytelling.
Yeah. A game that I wanted to touch on briefly and see if you all had any insight on or any thoughts about was I think about the Metal Gear Solid games. I love most all of them.
Yeah.
But then you get Metal Gear Solid Survive. That was obviously not well received. They did try to do something different, and it was not well received.
But that was without Kojima, right?
And you also
That's the issue.
that was the one. Yeah, obviously they lost Kojima, so that's like the big deal, right? But they should have, in my opinion, they should have just left that as a legacy. But then when they tried to come out with Metal Gear Survive, it was obviously awful.
They have the
right?
IP.
So,
I know it's going to make them some type of money, but the issue is that Metal Gear is Kojima. Kojima is Metal Gear. You cannot do that without him. You can remake it. You can put a fresh coat of paint on everything that they do with it, and you can remaster it if you will. But you can't do another Metal Gear without Kojima. It's just because he's so fucking weird and it gets so unique with those games that it just won't be the same without him. So you got to walk away.
Was that Bandai Namco? Who had Metal Gear? Konami. Thank you, Konami. Yeah, I think the problem there is like you're right.
Konami sucks. Is the problem, but yeah.
Yeah, you can't do nothing with that IP if you have it because you know it prints money. But Konami and Kojima just didn't get along, right? They had a falling out. I think that game was exactly that. It was a cash grab on an IP name that you knew and were established, and you hope there were few enough people that knew about what happened that you could make money. And I also think it was a little bit of an FU to Kojima because I just think they were that mad and petty. Yeah, I think they were that mad and that petty that they were just like, go, but the game is ours and watch what we do with it.
Yeah. And then the last game that I wanted to talk about kind of in this series real quick that I think is a positive because it seems to still always be relevant and very little people complain about it, even though it's been redone a few times. Super Smash Brothers series, taking it from Melee to Ultimate. Obviously building the roster throughout time, but people still rally around that game, I feel like. In my opinion, this is one of the few games that I feel like is a lot of rinse and repeat, but they continue to add content, but people still seem to love it and not really say too many negative things about it. But and people still form tournaments about this game, and like, you know what I mean. So like that, this game I feel like is almost an exception, but I don't know what you all think.
I mean, I feel that they do it once per console generation. I think that's the one thing that kind of keeps me being super okay with it is that, okay, we got the new console out. We're going to make a Smash for that one. Same thing with Mario Kart. We're going to make a Mario Kart for it. So that way people who buy this console will have their own game as far as Smash game, as far as a kart game. As long as you're not giving me 3 Smash Brothers within one console generation, I'm okay with it. It's not
every year.
Yeah, you're just, they're doing what we wanted them to do with like FIFA and stuff. Just like, okay, don't just keep updating it. Like how many fucking years did we have of just character additions to Smash Brothers? Like it's insane how long that went with like, I don't even know any fighting games that went that long with adding characters and content with it. Like off the top of my head, I can't think of it. Like Guilty Gear is probably getting close to that because they were going on like 2 or 3 years now. And they're still adding characters to it. But most fighting games will drop off after a while. But they put new ones out every year. It's got a graphical update to it. They don't really change the gameplay outside of maybe some characters that they add into it that have different ways of playing. But it's something that I'm super okay with as far as that. I love Smash Brothers.
Yeah, because didn't we get when they had the Wii U version? Isn't that the version that came to Switch and then they just started updating it? Essentially, is that, or did we get a brand new one for Switch?
The Switch has that, a lot of that, to where we did like the new version over here. It is technically a new version. I mean, like with Ice Climbers and stuff like that being involved into it, like it's different because they were able to pull out more with that. But it's, I mean, to be fair, there's not that big a difference between all the games outside of maybe the first one. Mostly they're all the same. It's just, hey, it looks better now. We can put a whole bunch more characters into it now, more levels and stuff like that. Keep on anteing up. And then not only that, but I'm pretty sure the Switch, the Wii U version did not have that super giant fucking like single player deal to where like you had the levels and everything like that. Like the Switch had that onto it. So there's enough to make different. It's not like Wonderful 101 when it came over to Switch where it's just a port. This is a lot more to it than just porting that over. But there's a lot missing from the Wii U version because of the fact that they also had made a version for the 3DS that would be compatible with the Wii U version and vice versa.
And I think fighting games are a bit unique.
They are.
Because like... you're not I mean, good for them. They're not doing it every year. So it's not like a sports game where it's a new coat of paint.
It's not a new Street Fighter every 2 years. Yeah,
like honestly, the fighting or sports games aren't even a new coat of paint. It's literally just like the same game with updated roster. So I think you're unique in that, and it's not a story game. That's where like Call of Duty and Assassin's Creed and other things really fall short, which is you're trying to tell a new story, but because you crank them out so quickly, they're not, right? Their stories are the same. Like I said, the character archetypes are the same, and on top of everything else, mechanically, it is exactly the same. People don't really expect you to change much of a fighting game's mechanics, although credit to people like Street Fighter 6 and that team who created a whole new game mode and stuff. Like, that is awesome. But, like, I don't mind Smash because of Preston, what you said. I mean, it's every few years, not every year. I think people would have a much harder time with it if we were on Smash 27 and it was every single year.
I think even if they release a sequel on this same console generation, I think we would have a problem with it. But they know better, and they'll just, because they know that people will continue to buy this game as this console is out, and when the new console comes out, I'm sure, even though the creator says he's done with Smash, whether or not they drag him in to do it again, or whether or not they just have someone do it, because at this point, it's, you know how to make a Smash game. It's not super difficult. Right. It might lose some love because you lost the creator, but they'll make another Smash for the next Nintendo console. The same way they'll make another Mario Kart for the next Nintendo console. Like, it's gonna happen.
And even if it sucks, all those Nintendo kids are going to play it anyway, so it doesn't matter.
You're fucking right, I will. I'll do it every fucking time. Mario Kart's fucking great. I love Mario Kart.
Yeah.
Now, I wanted to talk about real quick the ending of the impact of ending a series. And Preston, you had mentioned earlier about how Mass Effect went on too long. Obviously, I think you were alluding more to Mass Effect Andromeda.
Yeah.
But, like, I think a positive example of ending a series, I think, was the first 3 Mass Effects. Alex knows, I was very late to playing these games. I think I finished them up maybe 6 months ago.
Yeah.
And while part of me was sad I didn't get to experience it in real time while it was happening, part of me was happy because I got to experience kind of the best versions of the games, I guess, with the gameplay updates and all that stuff. But, like, I feel the way that Mass Effect 3, like, tied up the story and they ended it in a place where I feel like they could leave a long legacy as opposed to trying to continue and getting diminishing returns and obviously upsetting fans' expectations. I feel like that's one of the series I think about that, like, they exited, I think, when it was a good time. Do you well, thoughts on that, and if you think there's any games that have exited that you felt have done well?
I think so many games are planned as trilogies. Like, I don't think they were like, oh, let's
once you reach a certain era, they have 3 in mind. Yeah,
because honestly, if Andromeda wouldn't have been trash, they would have cranked out another Mass Effect 2 years later.
There would have been 2 more of that universe.
Yeah. So, like, if
Galaxy,
if people liked it, they would have kept making it. So I actually don't think they did the right thing. I think they were forced to do the right thing. I don't know. I would have to look at like games. I think indie developers right now are doing a really good job at knowing when to stop, right? Like, they make a really tight game. Dave the Diver. I would have said Hades, although Hades has a sequel now. But, like, that entire
studio
team
usually doesn't make a sequel game. Yeah,
they typically don't, right? But I don't know, like, this, like, Black Myth Wukong is a great game. You can't do a sequel to that. You shouldn't. No, I know. Well, that's what I was gonna say. Like, it's a very tight story. It's Chinese mythology, but it made a ton of money. Like, you should not do another one.
Just do a different game.
Like, if you do a different game, do a different pantheon of a story. Sure. Go to Japan. Go to Malaysia. Go to some other Asian country and do their stuff. It doesn't
have to be mythology. Yeah.
It doesn't have to be that, but, like, that, I would be disappointed, and it would be a cash grab if you come out and did Black Myth Wukong 2, because, like, you can't. You told the story you want to tell. Like, it is the story, right? Mm-hmm. I think you should know better, but money talks now, man. Like, it's hard for people to get paid and then say no, especially in an industry that's very volatile. So
yeah,
but there are people that, I don't know, I think do well. Like, Baldur's Gate and that team at Larian, they deserve a sequel, but I think they're smart enough to say it's going to be a unique game, it's going to be a unique story, we're going to bring even new mechanics or new characters into it. Like, it won't just be a rehash together. And it'll be great because, like, they're not worried about cranking it out next year. Mm-hmm. It'll be 8 years or 6 years, right? Like, studios, Assassin's Creed would be better too, I'm sure, if you gave yourself time to breathe. But nobody wants to give them time to breathe anymore. It's how quickly can we crank it out, and that's where the problem lies, right? Like even Final Fantasy, I mean, they have 3 different teams working on stuff. Their business development unit 1, 2, and 3 that are doing 14, doing the next new game, doing the next Rebirth game. Like they're trying to crank stuff out as fast as possible, but at least those teams have the time to breathe within them. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, Naughty Dog's a great example. As long as the money's there, then they'll keep cranking out shit, good or bad.
But that was also going to be one that I was going to bring up because like they finished Uncharted. They had one that's called A Thief's End, and it wrapped up the tiny boat. Like you could, if they really wanted to, they could do it to where, who knows, maybe like the same thing I said with God of War. Maybe like his daughter at the very end of that becomes like, starts following the footsteps of her father and kind of dealing. You could possibly, I could see that being a thing. But they had Last of Us they were wanting to go onto it as far as like a new trademark, a new IP that's going to give them oodles of money. And people would have said that they should have stopped at the first Last of Us, and they shouldn't even done a second Last of Us. But I think they did really well with ending Uncharted, being done with it, walking away from it, going off to a new IP, which they also probably should have ended on the first one. But it's Sony. They're like, hey, could we get another story out of this one? And they're like, sure, we'll do an older Ellie type of deal.
But it's not even like, even if you did 2, it's, again, it shows like the Naughty Dog is a prime example of how money talks in a negative way. Like Naughty Dog could be working on the next amazing game, the brand new IP. Let us sell. But what are they doing instead? Sony has them updating multiplayer content to a PS5 remake of a game that already had a PS5 SKU that was sold, right? So like now it's not The Last of Us Part 2, it's like Last of Us whatever it is now, 1 and 2 are the same.
PS5 like Pro SKU once that comes out.
Right, and like you could give this team the opportunity to do something new, walk away from that old IP and do something unique, but instead they're just getting trolled online because you have them remaking the same old game over and over for games that don't need to be remade. Because Sony can't learn to walk away, right? No. Those companies can't learn to walk away. But again, like money talks. Your next IP, you could go pitch it to Sony and they can say this is the dumbest thing, and then your whole team gets let go. You could make a good game and your whole team gets let go. Or you could keep making the same shit because they keep throwing you money and you're like, well, at least I have a job. I think that sucks. But that seems to be what a lot of people are opting for, right?
You did not need Force Unleashed 2. You could have done a different story with that team, had a fun action game, but instead they saw where the money is at. They wanted that fucking game out as soon as possible, and it ended up being shit at the end of it. And they bit the heart on that one.
Jedi Survivor was the new one. What was the first one? Jedi
Fallen
Knight?
Order?
No.
Fallen Order.
Fallen Order. You could have walked away from Fallen Order number 1. I enjoyed 2. I really did. You could have done that number
totally
1 and walked away from it.
Another Jedi within that galaxy that's hanging out, trying to survive within that era. Like, fuck it. You could even do something like have them do the Outlaws character, K.
Yep.
Yeah, you could do so many different things, but it made them money. The face there is the face. You know, forget that gentleman's name, but he's very well known actor.
Dominic Monaghan.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
right?
It's very,
he's good.
Very, he's a fantastic actor, and you know, I would fucking be thrilled if I saw him like pop up in Ahsoka or some shit like that. Like I would lose my fucking mind. But do you need to have a third one with him in it?
You could have walked away after number 1.
They will. They'll have a third one. I'm sure it's already in the making. I'm sure someone out there said it was a trilogy at some point. But you didn't need it. It could have been one and done, and you're finished.
Yep.
Yeah. I the one thing I will say about Mass Effect is when they did the re-release and the upgrade and all that stuff, is they added a cutscene at the end where Shepard was still alive. And
getting ready for that next Mass Effect game.
I'm hoping.
Wait, is he alive? You got an ending where he's alive?
There's an ending where he's crushed in rubble, but you hear him take a breath, indicating that he's still alive.
That's right. I forgot.
So I'm hoping they're not going to do that and try to make like a Mass Effect 4.
Well, they're already making Mass Effect 4.
They're already making it. Yeah, Mass Effect 4.
They had a teaser trailer out for it and everything. They showed the blue skin.
And out that N7 day last year. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's happening.
We don't know if it's alive. I don't think we know if it's Liara. It isn't Asari. The problem. So again, that you should have walked away from that, right? Because like you gave players a choice of 3 endings. if I chose the ending where I want to get rid of all of the technology in the galaxy, the Mass Effect drives are broken, and everybody is spread. Like the team from the Normandy is on a planet where their stuff doesn't work anymore either. They're stuck, right? Like, how are you going to reconcile that and be like Mass Effect 4? It's like
They
no.
choose an ending. And they ruin it for
They-
people who, to two-thirds of
and-
people who chose the other endings.
Exactly, right? And
cannot
like then
quit.
it goes, and it's like, why did you even do that? You shouldn't have done that. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, they could only make it right if it asks you your choice that you made at the end and then change the game based on that, but that won't happen.
That would change so much. Like, what is
I
my
know,
game?
that's what
What
I'm
is my
saying.
game gonna be if technology doesn't exist and I wiped out the Geth?
That's what I'm
The
saying,
Geth-
it won't
like a
happen.
whole race doesn't survive or live anymore. Like,
the third chance that, or 1/3 chance that Shepard's alive in somebody's game, and you got to do a whole story based off of that. No, they're not going to do that. They're going to have it to where he's alive or dead, most likely alive.
Yeah.
That's what it's going to be. Or they just do a whole separate thing like Andromeda, which I think they'll be afraid of doing.
Yeah.
yeah, I think you'll probably have a different story. They're probably going to time skip. They're going to pick an ending for you, and they're going to time skip. And
Yeah.
I don't think Shepard will be the main protagonist. I think Shepard
Sure.
will be in the game. Maybe he'll
Mentioned.
be the. Oh, I mean, maybe he'll
At the
even be the
Citadel or
ambassador or
something like
something
that.
now. The Citadel.
Yeah.
But I think the only thing they'll have to do is pick an ending and time
have to.
skip it, which is gonna suck. It'll suck. It should have stayed.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. And then lastly, and then we can close up. So I wanted to talk about the potential drawbacks of not ending a series. So my example for this was with the Half-Life series that obviously took a long hiatus, which has left a lot of fans kind of frustrated about Half-Life.
Wait,
If didn't play-
you say a long hiatus. That implies that you think they're gonna come out with another one.
I mean, they did. It was Half-Life
Exactly.
Alex.
Yeah, and that was not
that
what
was like
people
that was
wanted.
like a decade ago.
Half-Life
Like,
Alex was like a year or two ago. It's VR.
Yeah, it was a VR title. I think they updated it
Oh,
so maybe it
I thought
wasn't
there was
VR.
Okay.
But it wasn't the sequel that people wanted, so that
No.
they don't even
No.
consider that to be,
They're never
people
going to
liked it.
finish that series, so I wouldn't call it a hiatus. I would just say it's
It's done. Yeah, it's
it's
just
done.
Yeah.
It's done.
Valve doesn't play games
Yeah.
like that anymore. Or make games like that anymore.
But some of the examples that I had for games overstaying their welcome is Tom Clancy series games, Call of Duty, Halo, possibly. Not possibly. The Halo. Jake's gonna hate that I said Halo, but Assassin's Creed, possibly Pokemon.
Oh no, I
some
think
people,
a lot of us agree on Pokemon is just running itself into the dirt and not improving their game at all because they know it just print themselves out money.
Yeah,
Yep.
and during my research, Sonic the Hedgehog kept coming up a lot, so I thought that was strange. Gran Turismo was one, which honestly, the first Gran Turismo they had in such a long time was not that recent, or like not that long ago. But like, I don't feel like they were cranking a ton out. And then obviously Madden and FIFA is the other two that I had. But so I just wanted to mention. But yeah, whatever.
I think same thing,
what do you-
right? With like with Gran Turismo, they do like one a console or something. They don't do a bunch.
Yeah, I mean it's nothing. It's not like Forza where they alternate years
No.
between Horizon and Motorsports. That at least is a better model. I feel like because Horizon's like the open world racing game, where Motorsports is like the track racing game. So like at least they alternate,
I
which is
think-
kind of nice.
It's really tough to say like games overstaying their welcome because all of that is less about the game quality and more about I guess the satisfaction of the player base, right? Like
Right,
Sonic is like an endless runner and can be redone year after year with a slightly different story, and as long as the quality's good, like that's fine. Same with racers are like fighting games. Like how do you change a racer significantly between either an arcade style or a sim, right? But if you do it well, like Gran Turismo, and do like one a generation, then it's not that bad. People think they've overstayed their welcome, again, because your satisfaction is down. But I think this really is less about those unique franchise games and more about story-based games. I think it has to be, because it's less about like the quality, it's more just when does the story decline so much that you overstayed your welcome. Like a TV show, right? It's easy to say, like, oh, you've run out a good story to tell, now it's overstayed its welcome. So I think Halo, I could agree with Halo. If you lost the people that cared about making a good game, then stop making that game. Quit forcing it down people's throat. Quit half doing a story,
Yeah.
right? Like, that's overstayed its welcome. But I would let Forza go. I would let Sonic go. You know,
I'll say Need for Speed's another series that hasn't really done a great job of innovating on what they've done, and I actually find them less entertaining. I mean, we used to play Need for Speed all the time, but they don't have the same charm as they used to, I guess. And maybe that's because social gaming's changed a little bit, maybe the group of friends, but like that's another series that I used to care about that I no longer care about.
I think Pokemon wouldn't be on that list either if they took longer between releases.
Correct.
And actually made a better quality game versus every year, right? And again, I think that's more to the gamer-based satisfaction where that sits.
Pokemon doesn't really do it every year. It's more or less though they know that they don't have to change things, and all they got to do is add a couple Pokemon in there, maybe do a little bit of a different story. But as far as the actual game itself, like that new game came out broken as fuck, and people still bought the shit out of it, and they made a fuck ton of money off of it, and they didn't fix it for a hot second. I didn't buy that one. I would have loved to. Guess what? They always do colors and stuff like that for each iteration. Purple's my fucking favorite color. I didn't buy Pokemon Violet. Like that's how much of a bummer it is to me. Like that would have been the one that would have been mine. But we'll see what they do with the next one. That's not Arceus or whatever Arceus. When they do the next like mainline Pokemon, we'll see how it looks from then. But I don't know if they're going to learn from their mistake from the Violet and whatever else it was.
No.
I guess kind of to wrap up this topic, each of your opinions, like what do you think, like looking forward, what do you think some things some developers and companies can do to help avoid like this going forward? It's kind of similar to what you've already talked about for specific games, I guess, but as like what
they can do will literally never happen, which is be less greedy. I mean, honestly, like
new IPs, take chances, do different stories. Don't always rely on the IP everyone else knows, and will make money.
Reinvent themselves.
Do something different. Have a different.
And give it time. How many games come out broken because you have to hit a deadline, right? Like, I would rather a game be delayed and come out like pristine than cranking out games that are just broken. But again, like the stuff you need is never going to happen.
Think of how great Force Unleashed 2 would have been if they just given time. Because most of the complaints with that game is it is story, but it's mostly gameplay. Because like that game itself is broken compared to the original.
I mean, think about like the Star Wars game that I played, Jedi Survivor. Like I couldn't even experience half of the content you had because your hub planet was legitimately broken.
The game.
Yeah,
it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and I know that Nintendo has their own problems and they have their own faults and whatnot. But I can tell you, like, out of all the companies, I feel like Nintendo takes their most time for the most part. And typically when they release a game, like, it's pretty polished, whether it's a Mario game. Now, of course, I understand that it's repeating IPs in a sense, you know what I mean? Sure. But, like, at least the quality of the games are typically up. Like, I think about, like, when Breath of the Wild came out, like, those Zelda games, like, drastically reinvented themselves, I felt like. Now,
but
I didn't play...
But the second game was identical to Breath of the Wild.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I didn't play Tears of the Kingdom, so I can't speak to that, is what I was about to say. But yeah, go ahead.
It's new. They added a cool new mechanic, and they really opened up the sandbox. But like when you're talking about the look and the skins, and it is
it's that world. Done. Yeah.
I'll give you a good I'll give you a good example of a game that did things the right way, and I think it was Remedy, right? Alan Wake 2.
Sure.
Like you could have capitalized off of Alan Wake, and you could have made a different Alan Wake game and a horror game every other year. But this was like 8 years or more later, and they did take the time to do something new. They interspersed like real life video with this game world. The whole musical number, Preston, was like something I've never seen in a video game that was incredible. Like
super fun.
Different. That is a great example of what can happen when you give studios time and breadth to actually work and own their own work and not feel like they need to crank one out so quickly all the time.
And what's a shame is when you have companies like Tango Games that tried to do something different and succeeded, and it still didn't pay off for them.
Because you didn't make enough money, right? And you could have, if you would have launched it on every console everywhere and you marketed it, but instead you stealth launched it and dropped it on a service that people were paying $10 for, knowing that you didn't have... You don't have a lot of people paying for that service anyway, and you didn't say, hey, everybody that pays for this, you have to go play this. You said, oh, it's another game to play. So then when like you don't have people signing up for the service left and right because you didn't talk about it and you're just hoping word of mouth is going to do it, like, what do you expect? That game was incredible,
It was great.
But
The best games.
they set them up for failure because they
Yeah.
did not believe in it, because it's not an IP that people know, right? And you're talking about a company that was known for horror that did step outside of the box, that tried something new, and they go, "No, we don't think you're going to be able to pull this off."
Yeah.
The
Well,
worst.
that's the topic that I have. Unless anybody had anything else to add, that's all that I had.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah,
Thanks for
absolutely.
hanging out and filling in for Christian, right? While giving him time to hopefully not overwork himself to death. I think the next time we talk to him, Preston, he's going to have an ulcer.
Yeah,
But,
it's gonna explode.
Yeah. So
Well, hopefully
so-
he'll have some thoughts on the episode. I'll be curious
sure.
some of his takes, because I'm sure I've said some things that might be hot takes. So we'll see how it goes.
we'll see how it goes. So
Okay.
thanks for hanging out with us, everybody. We will be back soon, finishing up Space Marine on our video game book club, and we have D&D right around the corner. I know we're super excited about that. And with that, everybody, see you next time. Preston, you know what to do.
Real quick before we leave, Travis, where can people find you?
Oh, people can find me on Nerds with Mics. We have a website, nerdswithmics.com, and we have a podcast and a YouTube channel, and it's literally just our handle is nerdswithmics.com or
Not-
at whatever social.
There you go.
So,
Not Mikes and Nerds.
No,
Not
not
anything
Nerds on
else.
Trikes.
Not Nerds
No,
on Trikes.
none of that.
Nerds with
Not
mics.
Nerds on Bikes. Nerds with Mikes.
Yeah. Thank you for remembering me, Preston. I appreciate you.
Hey, you came on here and helped us out. We're gonna give you a little something.
I always have a good time coming on here.
Yeah,
It's
fun.
always
We have
such a
you for a
good
while.
time. Yeah, it's been good.
All right,
Cool.
well, we're out of here. Hit it.
Thank you for listening to another episode of The Testing Room. To catch up on past episodes or check out the newest ones when they drop, follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your favorite podcasts. If watching is more your thing, check out youtube.com/thetestingroom or Twitch TV/testingroompod. To leave comments and ask questions, follow us on Instagram @testingroompod and email us at testingroompod@gmail.com. See you next time.